So please,
Yeah. I guess it's showing now. Okay, so I want to just take you through something brief before we go into the work. So this is the structure of your paper, your article that you are writing. So I want to take you through that before we go into the smart PLS. So one thing that you need to know is that we are developing a journal article, not a book chapter, not a thesis. So as you are drafting a journal article, you must follow a certain pattern, a certain structure or system. One of the things that you need to know is that you don't have to put it into you don't have to put into your work chapters. So you start with the title of your article. You come to abstract. Abstract normally will be about, many journals take between 100 to 300 words maximum. And it must follow a certain structure. Even abstracts also have a certain structure. Within your abstract, you must have a purpose. You must have your aim, objectives. You must have your methodology, some findings, implications, and limitations. So even an abstract, there is a structure, and you have to learn to follow the structure, depending on where you are submitting the article to. Good. Then you come to the introduction. Before this, normally we have something that we call keywords. Keywords, normally in many journals, between 3 to 6 keywords. Here too, once again, depends on the journal that you are submitting to, because they will tell you the kind of keywords or the number of keywords that they want to see. From here, you come to your introduction. The introduction section is where you have to present the problem statement. Why this study? What gap are you trying to fill? The motivation, the rationale, the significance of the study all come in the introduction. It must have a very good argument as to why this study is important. If somebody decides to read only your introduction, the person you must be able to convince the person that this paper is important, and that comes in the introduction. Now you come to the literature review. I'll use the term literature review because it depends on the paper that you are developing. In some studies, the term literature review is separated from conceptual framework. So it depends on the paper or the study that you are undertaking. Some studies will say literature review, and some will say conceptual framework. Some of them separate, some of them too, they will combine the literature review, conceptual framework, and theoretical framework. So it all depends on how you are going to structure your paper. But in its classical form or traditional form, the literature review will look at the review of past studies and then also conceptual and theoretical framework. So look at this. Now from here, you come to your methodology. So this is where you give us how the study has been conducted or how you have conducted the study. Within this section, you tell us the research design, and you also tell us the sample, the population and the sample that you are using for the study. In the sample, I'm talking about the participants, the data set, the observations, all these things must be described here. Those who took part in the study, either something which has already been collected or something that you are planning to collect. So you describe this, and then you give us the justification as to the sample size. Is it big enough? Is it significant enough? Is it reliable? Is it valid, including your data collection instrument? You explain all these in the methodology section. Then you come to the data analysis, which is also part of the methodology. You have to explain how you are going to analyze the data that you have collected or you are going to collect. So that will be part of the methodology section. So once again, please, I want to repeat, don't write chapter. I saw some of you writing chapter 3, methodology. Please, this is not thesis. This is article. Don't write this. Chapter 3. This is not thesis. So take note. Don't write chapter 3. Literature review chapter 2. This is not thesis. You don't have chapters in journal articles. This is journal article. Okay. I hope you get what I'm saying. There's nothing like chapters in journal articles. Let me quickly show you one. Quickly. So this is the structure. It's here. Can you see the abstract? US, introduction, then explanation of some key terms, which in this case will come more like the literature review section, but the article itself is a literature review, so it's not really needed. And then the methodology, how they went about the study, the outcome, which is the resource. Have you seen any part where they have written chapter 1? Is there any section where you see chapter? There's nothing like chapter in journal articles. So if you are drafting a journal article, don't write chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. It's not done that way. So take note. Okay? It's a journal article, so follow the structure. Now you come to the resource section. So after you have described your data analysis procedure, now you give us the results, the outcome from your data analysis. So I started by showing you some of them, but what I showed you the other time is not like you have to go by it strictly, because it depends on how you want to structure your paper. But I just gave you a guideline. Something like the profile of the respondent or a description of the data set. Then if you have to conduct some EFA and some basic analysis, you have to do it. You present your PLS resource. Within the PLS resource, you present the measurement model, the structured model, model fit, predictive relevance. You present all these things. Okay, great. Now, the next important thing, that the last but 2 or 3 things I want to take you through briefly, and then we move on to the smart PLS, is this. Now you present the results. So what is the difference? Somebody will ask. So what is the difference between this and the previous section? The previous section is the results from your data analysis. Like, for example, if you run the PLS and you get some results, the results that you will get, when you copy them and paste them into like this results, if I get this results and I copy them into my data analysis section, then that results that I get, they'll be part of my resource, like the diagrams, the interpretations. And normally the resource section, you don't give too much interpretation. You help us to know what the results stand for, what the results are. So for example, this diagram, if I copy this diagram and put it in my resource section, I can just briefly interpret it and explain what this resource is about. Okay, so that's what you do in the resource section. But when it comes to the discussion section, this is where you interpret. This is interpretation, discussion. It's more of, I will use the word, a deeper interpretation. Deep. This is where you go deep into the thing. So I'm going to help you out with something. This is a place that a lot of people have issues. And over the years, I've seen that many students encounter challenges in this section. So this section, don't interpret the profile of the respondent. It's not needed. What is needed in this discussion session, go back to your literature review section. Remember, in the literature review section, you develop your hypothesis. Do you remember? Or if not hypothesis, just go back to the introduction section. You have your research objectives and questions. So these two things, your research objectives and questions, you can look at it from here, or you can look at it from the literature review section, your hypothesis. The question that you have to ask yourself is, have I been able to answer my research questions? Or have I been able to address my research objectives? Or the third one is, have I been able to address my hypothesis? These are the questions that you ask when it comes to the discussion part. So when you get to the discussion part, you focus on the objectives, you focus on the objectives, you focus on the research questions, and see whether you have your results, the results that you had in section 4, they are helping you, or they have helped you to address them. So for example, if I made a claim or a hypothesis that good is better than evil, this may be a hypothesis that I formed in my introduction or the literature review section, which is the conceptual or theoretical framework section. I made a claim that good is better than evil, right? This is a hypothesis I formed. So based on my results, the question is good better than evil? Based on, if I come back to this results section and I check, based on my results, is this so? Is this so that good is better than evil, or is the opposite? So this is where I interpret. I say, okay, based on my results, indeed, good is better than evil. And good is better than evil because so and so and so and so. So here you explain. So this is where you have to bring in some nuance. You have to bring in, I don't know whether that's the right word, but you bring in some kind of, you have to be very specific. And this here, we expect you to be very practical. It's just like maybe somebody here, you cook something like jollof rice. Start preparing the jollof rice. I come to you and then I ask you, how did you do it? Now you are serving us jollof rice, and then I ask you, so how did you prepare this jollof? You must be able to explain it to me as to how you prepare the jollof rice. If you can't explain how you prepare the jollof rice, then the question comes back to then, how did you prepare it? How did you go about it? Or you conjured, you performed a miracle, and then the jollof rice just came out. No, it's not going to be so. You have to help us to know how you did it. And then also not only how you did it, but the implication. What is the significance? What do they stand for? So good is better than evil. What is it? Based on your results. So what you have to do here is that apart from you interpreting it, giving a deep interpretation to the results, you have to link it to existing studies. So good is better than evil. I can quote somebody like King. I can say that King conducted a study 5 years ago, and King saw that, or King found that indeed good is better than evil. Therefore, this results that I got in section 4 of my study, it confirms King's already existing study, which said that good is better than evil. Or it could be that it can happen that it can be opposite and say that based on my results, this study, this outcome, this results disputes what Kim has already found in existing study, that good is better than evil. Good. So that's the second part. So one, interpretation. Let me make it brief. Interpretation, deep interpretation. I'll use the word deep interpretation, not just interpretation of your outcome. Two, link it to existing studies, existing findings, existing findings. And then the last most important thing, which I want to help everyone today, take this thing from me, is very important. You have to contextualize it. That's the word, contextualization. The contextualization, I want to focus more on the word contextualize. In this context, I want to focus more on where the study was conducted. Sometimes you see some discussions and interpretations, and for example, many of you, your studies are about Ghana. The results, like King, once again, I want to use King as an example. King, your studies about Accra, informal sector in Accra. And then instead of interpreting the thing with respect to what is happening in Accra, you see that maybe King is talking about Johannesburg, and then King is talking about Pretoria, talking about what? Melbourne, talking about Tokyo, talking about Rabat. You see that the interpretation, the results, it's like they are far away from what a person what the person is doing, what the study stands for. So what I'm trying to say is that your interpretation must link, or you must relate your interpretation, your discussions, to where the study has been conducted. You are talking about technological barriers or issues, and your study is about Ghana. Meanwhile, all your discussion, what your discussion is talking about is US, UK, Australia. But the study that you have conducted is about Ghana. So why don't you focus on Ghana? I hope you get my point. This is very important because a lot of people miss this section. The contextualization. I'll use the term geographical or locational contextualization. Is very important. This is where we understand that indeed you conducted a study in a certain sense. Where is Debbie? Is Debbie here? I think some people are not here. Can you guys get some people to join, if it is possible? Okay, so contextualization. I want to use this. I want to say this thing again. It's very important. Contextualize your findings. If your study is talking about artificial intelligence, talk about artificial intelligence. the resource, interpret it, let people feel when they are reading the discussion session that this is about artificial intelligence, not another area of study. So these are some of the things I will say you have to talk about. One, there must be deep interpretation, explanation, deep interpretation. Link the discussion, the results, the discussion to existing findings, and then you have to contextualize it. I hope it's okay. Great. And also, okay, let me start with this. Let me add this. Look up to hypothesis, objectives, and questions. Yeah, before you start your discussion. And then you have a deep interpretation based on number one, and then your findings, which is the results in section 4. Then you link them to existing studies. Either you affirm, dispute, or you introduce something new that nobody has done. And then you have to contextualize, localize the findings. Localize the findings, contextualize the findings to the country, the field in which the study has been conducted. This is how you do a very good discussion. Yeah. Okay. Now the implications and contributions. So the word implications and contributions, they are normally used interchangeably. Even though when you check the literature, some try to give some differences, or they say that there is some form of differences between them. Whilst the contributions is about what you are adding, what you are bringing on table, what you are adding to literature, what you are adding to practice. The implications is more about like the significance, like what the study intend to do, or what the study intend to achieve, or what the study is likely to affect. But I would say, don't worry yourself at this stage of your research. Either you use the term implications or contributions and move on. Don't try to confuse yourself. Yeah. Okay. So what are the implications and contributions? The implications and contributions normally flow from the discussion. They flow from this. So if your discussion is good, your implications or your contributions will also be good. And many studies I have read, they add the implications or the contributions to the discussion part by making it 5.1. Many studies, because they flow from your discussion. Or you can just make it a separate 6. What do you look up to? These are the things that you look up to with respect to your implications. You look at the theoretical implication. What is the contribution? What is the implications of the study to theory? Theory means what are you adding to what is already known in existing literature? Especially those who are going to use theories and all that. Are you adding a new construct? Did you add a new construct, or what? Or did you change something? Are you bringing something new? What? So something like that. The theoretical implication. Okay, so let me explain. The theoretical implications can stand for many things. Rather, in many cases, people prefer to use academic contributions or academic contributions I would prefer the academic contributions or implications than the theoretical implications. But the theoretical implications tend to be more of like the focus is on more on theory. What about if I'm not using theory? Doesn't mean it's my study is not important. So with academic implications, you can look at, did you introduce a new method? Did you introduce a new model? Did you collected a new data set? Did you use a new analytical method or technique? So these are some of the questions that you ask. And these are the things that you look at whether your study has impact or your study is bringing something new, the study is bringing into the academic space. So you look at this. So you look at your method, your model, data. Is this something new? Is this something novel? Something interesting that you want to talk about? You can do that. So I'll leave this one there. Then you can also look at what we call practical implications or contributions. What is the meaning of this? This is more about industry. This is about practice. Your study must contribute to practice, industry practice, or practice in any form. So how is your study going to help organizations? Organizations, companies, institutions. Okay, and then you also talk about like professional bodies. How is your study contributing? How is this study going to help those people? What can they look up to? Or what do they stand to gain in this from this study, from your research? What is the impact? What is the importance? What are you contributing? What is new that those in the industry practice can take from your study? You need to discuss it. Please, in this section, as I said, you need to be very practical. Don't go and copy somebody's work. don't don't go and copy somebody's work because, and don't say something which is not there. Yeah, because this section, if anybody who is reviewing your work look up to your work, they will easily find that what you are saying is not true, or it's not what you are saying. They don't add up. So just be who you are. Make sure it's really related to your study as to how your study is contributing to practice. And when I say practice, I hope you understand what I mean. Like maybe out of your study, there will be some organizational changes. Maybe they have to change the organizational structure. They have to change their project governance. They have to change some of their leaders. There should be a leadership shift. It's something like that. That's this practice. What are that things that you look at? Your study can contribute to policy. So there's policy implications. So once again, somebody like Kim, your study is likely to contribute to policy. Policy. Yeah. Like those in the informal sector, the government. Yeah. I just read yesterday that now the government has approved that now our president and vice president will be ruling. It's no more 4 years now, going to be 5 years. You know, like so many things are going to change when that thing starts. I guess it's going to be the next election, which is 2028. Yeah, in 2029, the person who will become the president, the person will rule for 5 years. So it's a policy shift now in terms of our presidential terms. So from your study, how is your study going to contribute to policies, legislations, regulations, new laws, how things are done? Your study must contribute to something too. But one thing I want to say is that it's not all study that must contribute to all the three I have mentioned. Sometimes your study will contribute to one of them or two. In fact, many studies I have seen, they look at the first to most studies, the practical implications and theoretical implications. So it's not compulsory that your study must definitely affect policy. So it should be one of them or two of them, or if you have the other ones. So you put them there. So regulations, new laws, changes in policy. And the policies here, it could be national policies. And it could also be organizational, which is the national will be the macro, and then the meso, micro, and then the rest. We have the levels, micro, meso, micro, the rest. Okay, so look up to that as to how your study will contribute to that. Now, another one which in recent times has become very important is how your study contributes to the achievement of sustainability. And sustainability, I mean the SDGs. Many studies now, many journals, especially sustainability-related journals, would love to see how your study is helping us to resolve one of the SDGs. For example, if you look up to SDG number 13, which is climate action, climate change, based on your study, can we say that your study will help us to achieve or address climate change issue? When we talk about climate change, we are talking about the consequences of climate change, like extreme flooding, bushfires, and the rest, heat waves, like what is happening currently in Europe, where there's too much heat, in UK and the rest. So how is your study helping us to resolve one of these SDGs? We have 17 of them, 17 SDGs from the UN. How is your study helping us to resolve one of these issues? Okay, so some journals will prefer to look at this. And then some even will look at social implications. How is your study helping society? Preserving cultures. Like in Australia, the First Nation people called the Aboriginals. We normally, outsiders normally use the term Aboriginals, but in Australia, we say the First Nation people. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. How is your study helping us to preserve their culture? How is your study helping to ensure social cohesion? Okay, like if you go to the Volta region of Ghana, there is it Volta region or now is Oti region? I think now is Oti region. There is this town where they normally fight Halavanyo and Inkonya or whatever. So imagine you have conducted a study in that society or in that area. How is your study going to contribute to social cohesion so that they will live in harmony? You can talk about that. Diversity and inclusion. One of my professors normally say Donald Trump word. Yeah. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. One of my professors here normally say that's the favorite word of Donald Trump. So how is your study to get all these things? So you talk about these implications. Now let me quickly go through the conclusion. Then I'll go to the other part. Then the conclusion. So conclusion, what do you put in the conclusion? Conclusion should tell us the summary. Give us a summary of the study. Summarize. briefly talking about maybe the objectives, the method that you use, some brief findings. So an overview of the entire study. Brief. Okay, good. Then what do you have to talk about again? Some studies, it is within the conclusion section that they put the implication. So depending on how you structure your study, because when you read some articles, they put the implications in the conclusion section. So if you want to do that, then that means this section will not be there. If you want to put the implications in the conclusion section, don't do this, because if you do this, you're going to repeat. Don't repeat. Don't do a repetition. So either you put it here as a separate section or you add it as a conclusion. And then you have to talk about, this is one of the sections which is very important, and that's the limitations of the study. What are some of the gaps? What are some of the things that you couldn't achieve as far as your study is concerned? It could be about the data set. It could be that you didn't have enough data set. It's a sample size. It could be about the method that you use. You have some challenges. It could be about the software. It could even be about the entire methodology in terms of the research design. Maybe you use quantitative, but you can propose to future studies that they should use qualitative. Good. So the limitations, you don't only limit limitations, but you also add what we call and recommendations, which some studies call them the future direction, future recommendations. So yes, there is a limitation, like the data sets, you had issues with the data set, the sample size was small. So what is your recommendation? What do you suggest? What's your suggestion for those who would like to conduct similar studies in the future? You need to suggest something. So if I say my sample size was small, I can suggest that in future studies, they should collect more data. And that's it. So that's the structure. And then the last part is your references. The references, I would say the references that you put into your work depends on, look up to the journal where you are submitting your study. Okay, because some journals use APA style, some use Harvard, some use Vancouver, and then Chicago. Some use MLA. So please look up to, anytime you want to submit an article, go to, there is a section in articles where they say author's guide. Every journal has this author's guide. So for example, if I want to submit an article to one of the Elsevier journals, they are all not the same, but in many cases they are the same. They will put this thing there, guide for authors. Please read this, because some of the journals, before even you submit your article, they will ask you whether you read the author's guide or you didn't. So read the author's guide. And within the author's guide, they will tell you everything, including even how to structure your article and then the referencing style. Okay, now so you have done all these things, you have put together your article, references, everything is okay. So what do you do now? The next thing I want to briefly talk about before I go into the running of the data and then we go home is that you need to look for a journal. So I want to say something, and I had a brief discussion with Thomas. I had a brief discussion with Thomas. We were doing some back and forth, and I told him something, that please don't go for some journals. I was just advising him about something. Don't go for some journals. If you remember, when we begin this whole journey, I mentioned to you that there are certain journal hosting sites. When we say journal hosting sites, it means they host a number of journals. They happen to be the publishers. They normally have the publishing rights. to publish articles. So look up to these ones, the ones I'm going to tell you, and select journals from there, and then publish your papers. Don't just go for any journal. Don't go for what we call predatory journals. I don't want to cast some bad insinuations, or I don't want to say bad things about some journals. I just want to focus on something, and please follow what I'm going to say and do exactly. Don't go for any other journals, but focus on these journal hosting sites. If you want to get articles there, go into these sites and get articles. I don't want to deal with predatory and all that. That's one maybe for some other day. So go to Elsevier. I'm giving you the names. Elsevier is one. Go to Emerald. These are the well-known, approved. They have the track record of publishing good articles over the years. And these are the journal hosting sites which the wider scientific community has accepted. So if you are looking for a journal to publish your article, this is where you look up to. Elsevier, Emerald, Springer. Then you also talk about Taylor and Francis. I guess some of you have heard of Taylor and Francis. So Taylor and Francis is another one. And then Sage. Can you see my screen? The title is not good. Let me do it again. Sage, Taylor and Francis. And then what again? We have MDPI, but MDPI, people have issues with MDPI, but MDPI is okay. It's widely accepted. So Elsevier, Emerald, Springer, Sage, Taylor and Francis, MDPI. And then we also have Nature. Okay, Nature is well known for publishing very good medical articles. Well known. Nature, but now I know Springer and Nature, they have merged. They have been, and then Wiley, I need to talk about Wiley. Wiley recently acquired Emerald. They have bought Emerald. So Wiley now controls Emerald. So these are the general hosting site that, once again, as I said, people within the scientific community accept. And when I say general hosting site, it doesn't mean you see a journal called Elsevier. There's not no journal called Elsevier, but it's a hosting site. When you say a hosting site, it's just like you maybe saying universities in Ghana. We don't have only one university in Ghana, right? We have University of Ghana, KNUST, UMAT, UDS. So it's the same thing. When you come into when you go into Elsevier, you see many journals in there, depending on your preference, depending on what you are looking for. You will see them there. But we don't have any journal called Elsevier, or we don't have any journal called Emerald. We don't have any journal called Springer. But within them, you will locate the journal that will suit your study. So you publish. Where do you have to publish? I will encourage. I also had this discussion with some people over this thing. I want to encourage everyone to be looking at Q1, the minimum should be Q2 journal. That's the worst, Q2. Don't go below this. And Q1, Q2, depending on the ranking, how you want to. The Q1 and Q2 is the one well-known or whatever, but within the business and finance setting, especially those in the business and management setting, we have the AB ABCD or ABDC. ABDC and all the ABS and all that. ABDC is from, for example, is from Australia. Australian business deans, something. And then ABS. Okay. ABS is also well-known ranking. But at the end of the day, they are almost the same. There's that they have different ways of ranking journals. They have their criteria of ranking journals. But overall, if you want to know the ranking, look up to what we call nowadays is called SIMAGO. SIMAGO is doing a very good job by ranking journals, which I think many people accept nowadays. So SIMAGO. On that note, that is it. So I'm going to leave you with your drafting of your article as we bring the whole journey to an end. Now let me move on to the smart PLS. Then we end. So I'm going to take for the next 17 minutes. I'm going to take another almost like 20 minutes to do this. Then we close. Yeah, so I told everyone that I'm going to show you how to check your model fit. So please, I'm not going to go over what we have done again and again and again. I'm not going to do that because we have done this, and I expect you that you have watched the video and you have now you know all these things, indicator reliability. I'm not going to go back. I won't do that. If I do that, we are not going to finish. So I ended with the VIF the last time, and I mentioned to you that the VIF is to help you to assess the multicollinearity of your data set. Less than 3 is acceptable. Anything more than 3, the extreme version is 3.3. Yeah, so 3.3. Yeah, but 3 is acceptable. It should be less than. It means that your study is not correlated. Then I also explained the effect size to you. I explained the path coefficient to you. I explained the R-squared to you. Now let's come to the PLS predict. So the PLS predicts help you to understand the predictive relevance of your study out of sample power. Okay, good. So the R-square and the adjusted R-square help you to interpret or help you to determine what we call in-sample explanatory power of your model. In-sample, what does it mean? It means that if you look at your model and your variables plus your indicators and everything, to what extent can we say that your independent variables affect your dependent variables? So if I make a claim that good is better than evil, based on the variables and the indicators that I use, to what extent? Okay, so that will help us to know that. In simple terms, if any of you have done a bit of statistics, mathematics, or normal regression, you come across something like this. This is very popular. You see people doing X, so Y is equal to A, which is a constant, Bx1 plus Bx2 plus Bx3, then plus E. The E is the error term. Okay. So if you have something like this, what this means is that, what's that? Is everything okay?
Yeah, please, your screen is not showing again. I don't know if it's only my side. I was seeing it earlier, but now I can't see the screen again.
Okay, please, can somebody confirm? Are you us? Can you see?
I think it's this thing. I don't know. Anytime it's getting from 7 to 8, Ghana network is misbehaving. I don't know if people in Ghana. I'm experiencing, but it goes and comes back.
Oh, okay.
I really
What
suggested
about
that we started with but
Solomon and Co? Are you having the same?
No, I can see.
No, I can
You
also
can
see.
see, yes.
I'm
Yeah, I think
using
it's the
chat.
internet. Yeah, I think it's the internet issue. I think
Like
so.
Thomas
So,
said, it could
so
be Ghana.
Thomas,
yes.
yeah. So Thomas exercise. Thomas and others
Maybe some
exercise
cables
patience. I
are
think.
being chewed by the sharks under the sea.
Yeah, so yesterday we were having the whole nation about 2 or 3 hours. There was no light or so.
That's serious. Okay, I'm sorry about
Yeah,
that, but
actually true, yeah.
yeah. So I think it will come go, but you just
Yeah,
follow.
we are managing.
Yeah. And then if in case you don't see it at all, when we are done, I mean, definitely you watch the video, so you get it done. Okay, so let's assume you have this, right? So this is the y is the dependent variable, the a is the constant, and then the b, x1 up to 3, they are the independent variable. The e is the error term, right? So when we say the in sample or within sample explanatory power, what we are trying to say is that what is the impact of these 3 independent variables? What is their impact, their effect on the y, which is the dependent variable? And that one is explained by what we call the r square and then adjusted r square within. Now, what about if I want to use this same model? This is an example of a model. This equation is an example of a model. If I want to use this equation to predict something, to predict means like if I want to say something or something beyond this, if I want to use this model to predict how powerful, how reliable, how valid is this model to help me to predict that something, either something which is coming, like in future, or which is about to happen, or even if it has happened before, I'm trying to see whether there's some effect on something. How can I use this model to do that? And to know whether the model can do that or it cannot do it, you look up to what we called the PLS predict. Like in terms of the Pls-Sem, you use the PLS predict to help you in order to ascertain that indeed your model has the capacity, the capability, the reliability, the validity, the strength to do that. You are sure that your model can do that. So we normally term this one as predictive relevance out of sample power. So you use the PLS predict. Okay, great. So I'm going to run a PLS predict and then we quickly look at that. And then I also take you through other things, right? Other things. Then based on that, we just we end the whole thing. Yeah. Okay. So let me do it quickly, and then go. So when you come to the Pls-Sem, let's assume this is your Pls-Sem once again. Remember the last time I ran the PLS algorithm with you, and that's where you get to know the factor loadings and everything, the R square, and all, we did all that. And then the composite reliability, the AVE, the Grumbat alpha. I've explained all these things to you. Now I want to check the predictive relevance. So what do I do? So you go back and you click on calculate and you select the PLS predicts. PLS predicts, PLS predicts. Can you see that? You click on that and then you click OK. So it will run. Once it's run, you get some results. But what result do you look up to? So let's look up to my listing. So look up to the Q square predicts. We'll see the QS predicts soon. I'll show that to you. And then also look up to what we call the RMSE, which is the root mean squared error. And then you also look at the mean absolute error. And then you also look up to Pls-Sem and then the linear model. So these are the things that you look up to say that your resource is okay or not. But first, where do you go to? So where you go to look up to manifest variable prediction summary in your results. So you look up to this. And then you can also look up to that. Okay, but at the end of the day, which one is the best? Look up to this, the PLS predicts MV summary. That's the manifest variable summary. So that's what you look up to. And within this table, what specific items do you look up to? And what do they stand for? That's the question. So you look up to the Q-square predicts. So what is the Q-square predicts? With the Q-square predicts, the threshold is that it should be greater than 0. It should be greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, that means your model, this model that you have designed, it has the capacity to predict anything you want to use this model to predict. So now let's go into this. So here you can see that all of them are green, right? So that's good news. Yay! Green. So it means that the variables, including the indicators, they are all good to go. We can use all of them. We can use all of them or any of them to help us to predict anything that we want to predict. Okay. Any other thing that you look up to? Second, you look at the root mean square error and then the mean absolute error. Based on this, you look at which of the errors will help in terms of the smaller one against the bigger one. So do you choose the small or the big? The answer is that you choose the one which is smaller. The one which is smaller. The smaller, the better. So we are going to compare the two. The root mean squared error and then the mean absolute error. So we go back to the table and then we compare. So when you compare the two from the PLS model and then the traditional model is like the linear model if you are going by the traditional model. If you compare the two, which one is smaller? So if I take my RMSE from the Pls-Sem and then my RMSE from the linear one is like if you are not using Pls-Sem and you are running a normal linear regression. Which one is smaller? So if I compare the two, you can see that the first one is red. Why? Because my Pls-Sem is greater, it should be smaller. So this is 1.464 and this one is 1.461. That means the linear model, the linear regression, if I'm going by the traditional way, will be better than the Pls-Sem. That means there is a problem in terms of its prediction capacity or prediction efficacy, reliability, validity. The same, if I'm going by the second indicator, there's an issue. I'm going to use the only one, because there are few ones which are okay. Like if I'm going by the third indicator, it's okay, it's fine, but it's smaller than the linear one. But I'm going by the FBR3, that's okay. And then this one. Now, what about the ME? That's the mean absolute error. That one, you take the smaller one. Out of all of them, it seems that it's only the indicator, the third indicator, which is okay. The remaining ones are not okay. That means there is an issue. Okay, so two things. If you are going to interpret it, personally, if you are going to interpret, I will just base it on the Q2. So that I will not have so many issues with. You don't have to present everything here. I'm not teaching you the bad way, but I mean to help you to, because yes, many of the things are not okay. So if you are going to present all these things, possible examiners are going to have issues with you. So I would say focus on the Q2 or the Q square predict. You can base your interpretation on this and leave these ones out. Okay, or you can still do this and justify that even though there are issues with your Pls-Sem, RMSE, and the MA, the Q square predict or the Q2 predict is okay. So therefore, it should be accepted or something. Just look for some literature to support that. Other than that, examiners are going to have issues with you because when they see all this red, then that means your Pls-Sem has issues in terms of its prediction power. Yeah, so that's what you do. That's one of the robust criteria that you can assess. Is it compulsory to run this? I see many studies don't present this. I've read a lot of articles where they don't present the results of the PLS predict. But if you will present, then follow what I've just shown to you. Any other thing that you have to check? Now you can also check the model fit. Good. So the model fit, there are some indicators that will help you with the model fit. So with respect to the model fit, you go back to the results, go and run the PLS algorithm again. And the results, just check your quality check. You see one of the things under the quality criteria, sorry, is the model fit. So let's go through the interpretation. So this will be the last part and then we are done for today. Give me 2 more minutes. The first one is the standard root mean square. So apart from the PLS predict that I've shown to you, you can also run these model fits. All these are robust tests. So those of you who are so keen on presenting robust tests, these are the things that you can present so that the examiners will not have issues with you. So one of them is the standardized root mean square, basically. The cutoff point is that it should be less than 0.08. If you have less than 0.08 with your SRMR, then that means your model is a good fit, or your model is okay. But anything, well, some scholars, some researchers accept 0.1 maximum. That's from 0.8 up to 0. Anything up to 0.1 is acceptable, but anything more than that, they have issues. Okay, that's the extreme. But the best is 0.08. So let's check this. Are we okay? Good. So both the estimated one and the saturated model, it seems you are good to go because they all fall less than what? They all fall less than under less than 0.08, which is less than 8%. Here I can see 6.1%, 6.1% in terms of percentage. So the SRMR is okay. Now the second one, the second robust test is your exact model fit criteria. With this measure, the cutoff point should fall within the 95% confidence interval. 95% confidence interval. So if you use 5%, then 95%. But if you use 1%, it should be 99% confidence interval. If you use 10%, it should be 90%. Okay. And this measure the discrepancies between the empirical covariance matrix and the model implied covariance matrix. Now let's go there and check whether we are good to go. Yeah, so this one, I think both of them are okay. They all fall within the 95% confidence interval, right? Just that our DG is too low, but the DULS is okay, closer to the 90%. So they all fall, they are okay. You don't have any issues with it. Now the next one is the normed fit index. This evaluates the chi-square value of some say chi-square. I've heard some people say chi-square, chi-square, they all the same. Value of your model against and now baseline model. The cutoff point should be above 0.9. The cutoff point, the value should be more than 0.9. Let's go and see. Yeah, so here we are seeing that with our chi-square, we are having a high value, even though the NFI, our NFI is lower. We can use a chi-square to justify. Yeah, because 0.59 is less than 0.9, right? The less than 90%. But 0.859 is close to 0.9. So it's not far away. And with having this kind of chi-square value, we can still see that our model is okay. The model is fit for our analysis. So these are the robust tests that you have to look up to. Okay. The PLS predict is one of them. And then look up to the SRMR, the DULS-DG, that's the exact model fit criteria, and then the non-fit index. Yeah, so that's it for the remaining ones. Are more questions or additional things I just prepared to help my presentations, like multi-group analysis and all that. We'll do these things in future. Yeah, so if, for example, I have groups like males and females, and I want to compare them, or countries, can I use the PLS to do that? If let's say you conducted a study where you collected data from Ghana and Australia, can you compare the results based on your PLS? The answer is yes. That you can do what we call a multi-group analysis. Yeah. I think that's all. The remaining ones are just additional stuff. Thank you for coming. I don't have any question. Oh, there's something I nearly skipped. The mediating effect and the moderating effect. Should I do this? Sharon, have you been able to do this? But this shouldn't take us a long time. It's the same thing as whatever I've explained already. It's just a matter of adding something. Have you been able to do this? I'll just run one model and then explain it and then we'll go, because we don't need to spend too much time on this because everything is the same. That's what I've already interpreted. Sharon, have you been able to do this?
No.
Yes. Have you been able to do it?
I think so.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, thank you. So let me just run just one, then I will interpret, then we go. Yes, you don't need to spend too much time. So depending on whatever you use for your moderating variable. So with respect to the moderating, it could be education, it could be age, it could be any of the variables that you use or you are using. So for example, if I decide to use something like gender as my moderating variable, what I need to do is that I need to link which of the yes.
No, please. With my problem with this thing is about the construct in the chapter 2 in the literature review actually.
What's your issue?
I'm lost when it comes to how to relate the Sem to the literature review. The construct that I have developed in the literature review.
I'm still not getting what you mean.
The framework that I developed in the literature review section, the conceptual framework. I don't know how to relate the Sem to the conceptual framework, like measuring those mediating and then the moderating variables.
Okay, thank you. So what you have to do is that right from onset. That's the reason why I think I explained this thing some time ago, that before you run Sem, you need to really sit down to look at many things, especially your conceptual framework, because at the end of the day, they will have impact on your SEM results. Okay, so to answer your question, Emmanuel, you need to go back. So I guess now you have the results, right? So you need to go back and look at your model and look at how the model that you developed in the literature review section, they relate to your results. Okay, so in case you look at the two and one of them is not relating to the other, then you need to modify one of them. And in this case, because you already have the data and you have run the results, I would suggest you rather modify the literature review section. The question is, can I do that? Yes, it's allowed. You can go back and revise your literature review section. In other words, you are basing on your results to revise your conceptual framework. It's allowed. So it is not like once I have conceptual framework in my literature review, it cannot be modified. You can modify it, you can make changes. Because sometimes what happens is that your results may be showing something different from whatever. Because here is the case, maybe you have this model, let's take this model, and then you run, and all these indicators, they are all not good. Therefore, you have to end up removing this entire construct. Now you'll be left with the remaining construct will just be the financial risk and this one. So you need to go back, and if you already have this, you need to go back and remove this also from your conceptual framework in the literature review section so that they match with the result that you have now. So in many studies, quantitative studies, many scholars even suggest that before you even begin writing, always run your results. If you have the data already, run the data, run the results, get the results before you start writing. Don't start writing and then later on, because sometimes your results may not match, and which in many cases they happen. They will not match with whatever you have already designed. That's why personally, my suggestion is that if you want to write a very good literature review, or if you want to put together a very good paper, not a literature review, a very good article, journal article, I suggest always start from methodology and your results section. If you ask me, don't start from introduction. Don't write literature review. Personally, that's what I will tell you. Why? Because your data, your results have a very great impact on whatever you are going to write. Yeah. And many people struggle with this kind of traditional strict approach of you start a research with introduction, then you come and write literature review, then you come to methodology. In many cases, what happens is that you have to then go back later and go and modify your thing. So to answer your question, Emmanuel, I would suggest that look up to your results right now. What results do you have? Then go back and make changes to your conceptual framework to match your results. Yeah. That's what I would say. Because what is the data saying? What is the result saying? Whatever your results is saying, whatever your data is saying now, it should correspond to the model that you have developed. And if you're allowed to do it, there's nothing wrong to do that. Yeah, that's what I said. I know other people do the opposite, the other way, they use the other way around. But I suggest, and based on many experiences I have, I suggest always base it on the results. So if I run the results right now like this, and this result is different from my conceptual framework I've already developed, I will base on this results to modify, to make changes to the conceptual framework I have, so that the two of them will match. Yeah, Emmanuel, is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's assume that this is your. Yeah, please talk. What do you?
Doc, please, is it possible that you have only two constructs? and that can be used in Pls-Sem. For example, you have let's say factors on climate barriers to climate finance, and you have one contract with several indicators, or the two contracts
it can be done.
with several.
Yeah, it can be done.
Is it possible? Okay.
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
It can be done. Only two constructs can be done. For example, if you are looking at, let's say, the effects of climate change on economic growth or whatever, we can only look at the two with so many indicators. It can work. But there's something I would like to show you briefly before we go. But let me interpret this one first, and then it will come back to answer your question, Thomas.
All right. Good.
So this is what we call the moderating effect. So as you can see that the moderating effect, you see where the arrows are, they are on the what? On the path. It's on the relationship. You put it on it. So when you are designing, you put it on it, and that shows moderating effect. You don't put it at the end of the arrow or something. You put it on it anywhere. You can put it anywhere. Great. And you can see that the smart PLS will also show you that there is a difference. You can see that these are short dashes, and then these ones are thick ones, like this one straight thick. So it's an indication that the gen, which in this case gender, is a moderating effect. Okay, so it depends on the whatever you use, the kind of relationship that is moderating. It is not supposed to moderate all the relationships. So you need to help us to know the specific relationship or hypothesis that your moderating factor, your moderating variable is affecting. Now, once you do this, you run the model and you get the same results as we got. I mean, you won't get anything new. It's the same results and everything here. You get the same results in terms of if you want to check whether it's significant or not, you run the bootstrapping. Yeah, it will give you the same results. I just want to, yeah, okay. So let me see whether the moderators are significant or not. What I'm seeing here is that it seems the impact of the gender. Yeah, it seems the gender or the gender effects, they are not significant. So the moderators are not significant, unfortunately, in this case. But I'm not saying that it's going to be the same for yours. But this is because they are all showing red in this contest. Yeah, but probably maybe when you run yours, it will be significant. If they are significant, you keep them. If they are not significant, think about removing it, or maybe you're doing something else. So that's it. So that's the moderating effect. Now, moderating effect. Now, mediation. What is mediation? Mediation, as I told you, is something that serves as something like a middleman, as we know it in academia, agency, based on the agency theory. So in this context, you can see that if somebody wants to move from financial risk to financial performance, and the person decides to take this route, this path, the person has to move here, come here, and then the person will finally arrive at his or her destination. So in this context, this becomes a mediator, which is the financial controls become the mediator, because the person has to move, come here, and then come here. So this is the mediator. So how do you know the results of the mediator? So two things. You can look at the results from both of them, whatever, any of them will help you. So the financial controls are the mediators. You can look at them from the path coefficient table, the results, or you can come to what we call the direct effect. And this one will help you better. The direct effect and the indirect effect. So first, you look at the total indirect effect. So it will give you this. Look up to this. And then you see the results. And then the specific. We want to show the specific resource in terms of the indirect effect. The indirect effects is simply telling you the mediator, the mediation or the mediator. Okay, yeah. There is a full way of running. There are some studies that is based on purely mediation. We have mediation and even mediation mediated, and then we have moderation mediated, and we have moderated mediation. These types of analysis, we may run it in future, but for now, I think you don't need them. Yes, because there are some studies that are based on purely mediation or purely moderation. And with that, with those ones, we have different types. We have moderated mediation, we have mediation moderated, and mediated. We have different types, and that's not the focus of our work now. We will focus on that in future. But if you want to get a simple interpretation to the mediation effect, just look up to the total indirect effect and then the specific effect, and you will see how the mediators in your models are faring. And then based on that, you can report them, and that will be the end of your work. So on these notes, I'll end here. And to answer Thomas' question, I'm just going to remove one of the variables. So if I decide to remove, let's say, if I decide to remove the financial control, now I'll be left with this. So this will answer your question, right?
Exactly.
If somebody wants to find this, it can be done. 2 models. Just that the reason why many scholars don't encourage only 2 models is that sometimes it has its own problems, but it can be done. I don't want to dispute that because I've even done a study where I did this. Now there is another way of going about this. What is another way? There are situations where some studies, the financial risk, as you can see, can also have its own. There are some variables that come together to form the financial performance, which is called the formative, and there's some of them which are reflective. Now I'm going to give you an example. Yeah, and that will lead us to the first level order Pls-Sem, and then the second level. Once again, at this point in our work, you don't need all these things for now. But the models I have designed with you, none of you is going to use that, so you don't need that. But I'm just going to do something brief with you. So for example, if I have this, so these are variables on their own, right? And I'm just assuming that these models, 2 things. So if they are formative means that they come together to form these models. So they come together to form these models. It's supposed to be the other way around. Yeah, that's formative. I'm showing something the same. 10, 11, 12. Okay, yeah, so if you have a model like this where 2 models come together, right, to form the same thing. So, and let me give you a practical example. For example, if you say that if you want to grow old, like to become 100 years and become healthy, what are some of the things that you need to do? Maybe eat good, have enough sleep, don't do bad things. I mean, I'm just saying, these things come together to form, to give you long life. So you can do something like that. And if you do that, you are doing what we call the formative analysis of the Pls-Sem. And with this one, because there are other variables that are coming together to form this, we will term this as formative variables or formative latent constructs. We can also do it the opposite way. The opposite way, I mean, I can decide to make it reflective. And there are rules to all these things. Yeah, for the sake of time, we can't do all these things, and actually they are not needed now. When the arrows are opposite, it becomes reflective. Reflective means that, for example, if somebody decides to go to one of the restaurants and go to KFC, you enjoy yourself with the burgers and whatever, you may end up saying so many good things or bad things about about KFC, right? You may say that KFC is the best, KFC is this, KFC has blah blah blah. You say all sort of good things about KFC. Oh, KFC is the best, KFC is this, KFC is that. So they say the same thing. So they will reflect, or you reflect based on you going to KFC, and based on whatever you do at KFC, you come out with some good ratings, and that will be reflective. So you can also have a model like that. But anytime you do this, we have names for them. We have what we call the first order, then we have the second order. When you add other constructs, or you build constructs with other constructs, we say you are having a second order Pls-Sem, which is also a whole course that in future. But right now, based on what we have done and based on the models that I have designed with all of you, none of you have that first order and second order Pls-Sem models. So I'm not going to worry myself. Then the last thing I will say before we go is that we also have another one called the CB-Sem. So all that we have done, we have focused on Pls-Sem. We didn't look at the CB, which is also a different thing on its own. Actually, not different. I mean, some of the things that we have seen so far, we'll see them there, but it's built based on different criteria, different issues, different things. So I would love to teach this thing in future. But what is going to happen is that in our next meeting, which is going to start in September, those of you who will be coming around, we'll be using different models. And this time around, we will be exploring things like system dynamics. Yeah, in addition to the CB-Sem, I'll be teaching CB-Sem actually in the September. But in addition to the CB-Sem, I will also be teaching what we call the system dynamics. So those of you who want to learn system dynamics, this is your opportunity to come around and learn system dynamics. Okay? Yeah, so something like this. Probably some of you have seen it before. We'll be learning system dynamics. Yeah. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming. It's been a great time. I know some of you will go for all night, all that today. That's why I decided to do it early.
Doc, some quick question.
Yeah, some comments and questions. Then we go. Yeah. Wait for the next 5-10 minutes. Please go ahead.
Please, now. So what are we going? So I'm asking that now that we are using the free version of the Pls-Sem, and very soon some of us will not be able to access it.
Yes.
What will be the next?
So that is the reason why I mentioned that run your model and start writing. Yeah, because 1 month is enough time for you to run and write.
Yes.
Your, by now, you should be either done or something. Once it is done, The only time that maybe if you need support, I will come in and support you is, let's say your work has gone to reviewers and the reviewers has, I mean, they have recommended some changes. Then in that case, I'll help you to run. That's why it will not be difficult. So what I want everybody to do is please keep your data. Don't do any kululu. Please don't do any kululu. I will not encourage that. I don't want to encourage any kululu. Kululu. It's not good. Don't manipulate things. Whatever data that you have now, run it. I told you 200 and above is okay, but I also know that people have used 78, 50, 70, 80, and all that. They have used them to run Pls-Sem and they have worked. So whatever data that you have, please run it now and write before the thing will expire. Yes, just that, as I mentioned to you the other time, the bigger the better. The bigger the data set, the better, because it has a way of helping you to overcome all the statistical issues. But whatever data set that you have now, I'm pleading with you, in addition to today's video, watch all the videos on the results. Watch and run. Run them and write. Write. That's what I will say. Because once it's expired, the truth of the matter is that please, I will not get time. And then the person that maybe you'll also be waiting for, the person, maybe the person's own has also expired. The person that you expect that person will help you. The person's this thing will also expire. I mean, when you contact me, to be honest with you, the semester is starting. This Monday. I don't think I'll be able to have time for you to be running your data for you. To be honest, I won't be able to do it. So you'll be left with the option to go purchase, which I know many of you don't have that money to purchase it. So just listen to my advice. Run the data that you have. Write your results. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other person with comment questions?
Yes, Doc, another question.
Yeah.
I was trying something on the Stata using structural acquisition model.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but it was unable to perform the way this one is PLS is performing because of the contrast. I wanted to apply the same.
No. Don't worry yourself. When we started, I mentioned to you focus on smart PLS. There are other softwares apart from even Stata, but I know why I said smart PLS, because the smart PLS is user-friendly, easy to use and all that. So just focus on one. Don't worry yourself about many things. Focus on one thing and learn it well. I guess even the smart PLS, you have not really even learned it to the letter, which like you have a extreme control over it. Please focus on that and learn it. Don't try to go and use this and that. You're just going to confuse yourself. Learn one thing at a time. Once you master it and you are okay, you have master over it. In future, if you want to learn it, to use it, there are even other softwares like Jamovi. Others, I can introduce you to other things, but the smart PLS has been recommended, has been accepted as the best when it comes to this kind of modeling currently. So don't go and do this and that, and you are just going to confuse yourself, and you're also wasting time too, because the smart PLS, you don't have mastery over it. I don't think so. If I tell you right now, I ask you some few questions, I think you will find yourself wanting. So focus on one thing at a time. Yeah, that's what actually we do here in this part of the world. In this part of the world, people specialize in things, and that's why people become so good in something. Don't confuse yourself with many things. Focus on one thing, learn it, have mastery over it. Then if you want to learn other things later, yeah, you can learn. Yeah, so that's my advice to you. Focus on this. Have you finished writing
Right.
your interpretation of your resource? I don't think so. You have done that.
No, please.
Mm-hmm. So please focus. And the time is also, the time is going. This thing is about to expire. Yeah, so please finish it. Get this thing done. There are many things that they say that there's more sleep after death. Is that not what you think? Yeah, at least you can learn many other things. After this, you can learn whatever you want to learn, you can learn. Yeah. Okay, please, any other person who want to. So please, before we go, please make sure you fill the link I share with you. If you have somebody who wants to be part of the already, I have quite a sizable number of people. But this time around, I'll try and see to do a bit of, I will not say interview, but I'll try to look at other people's readiness, because the challenge that I have had with this, I'll have with some people in this group is that they have not been responding well. Of course, I know people have issues with the internet and all that. But one thing I was discussing with some group of people yesterday that I know it's a cultural thing in Ghana, in Africa, especially in Ghana, people find it difficult to see things when they are going through problems. Unlike this part of the world where, as a lecturer, you teach and your students will approach you and say, "Sir, what you said is wrong. I think you should have said it this way." In Ghana, it's hard for somebody to approach his or her lecturer and say, "Sir, you are wrong." It's because it's a cultural thing, because we normally want to save faces. We don't want to offend people. People are going through a lot of problems, challenges. So normally we tend to be like, is it backbiting? Backbiting is not the best word. I don't like backbiting. Backbiting is too extreme, but it's more like, is it giggling or what, murmuring? I think that's the word. They are having problems, but they find it difficult to open up, because they feel that if they open up, maybe they will be punished, or there's something, So people prefer to keep things to themselves. Meanwhile, they are going through problems. But here, people voice out. They voice their problems, their grievances. They will just approach you and tell you that this, that. So I understand it's a cultural thing. But at the same time, I think some people have not responded well in terms of how this whole class has been. If you have problems, you have many people I don't even know. You send them the stream part, which is not even good, is that you send even messages asking people, "Do you have a problem?" No response. Some people have sent messages, not once, not twice, many times. They have not responded till now. Not only messages, text messages, but I have sent emails. Like some of them about 3-4 emails continuously, no response. So with my next class, I'm going to do a little bit of like an interview to see your readiness. Because now I have a lot of people. So if you are not ready, I prefer not to let you come into my class. Yeah, you can wait. Maybe in future, if you are ready, you can come around. But I don't want a situation where somebody will come around and the person will make it look like it's like you are worrying him or her. It's not the best. Yeah, because once you sign up, you sign up and you say you want to learn. So if you want to learn, I'm helping you out. So that's the thing that I'm going to do. So if you have someone who wants to be part of it, why not? The person is welcome to learn. I mean, welcome to come to my class to learn. Yeah, you can send a link to the person, and you yourself make sure you fill the details in the link: your name, your email address, and then your phone number. There are only 3 things that I need. I don't need any other thing from you, just for communication purposes. Yeah, so I think that is all that I have for everyone. I think everybody is okay, or is there something somebody?
Doc, please,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, you can go ahead, please.
Okay. Doc, so after your hypothesis testing, you get your results. you've stated for the path coefficients, the p-value and the t-value. Can there be a situation where all your hypotheses or majority of them are not supported or they are insignificant?
Yes, they can happen. They can happen. And one of the reasons why there are many reasons. One, it's possible you don't have enough data. That's one. Two, it's possible how you design the hypothesis. You didn't design the hypothesis well. Maybe instead of going right, you should have gone left. The third could be that the kind of indicators that you have used for your construct, there are problems. And how do you know whether they have problems? Go back to the beginning. If you go back, let me show you an example. If you go back to the beginning in terms of your convergent validity and then the indicator validity, right? They will show you whether you have a problem or not. So I'm talking about this one, this table. Where is it? Yeah, this one, this table. So check this table and see, because sometimes there are so many problems here and then you overlook them and then you go ahead to run the other one and then the results will show the other results, which is like they are not supported. So check. So if you check the Chrombat alpha, the composite reliability, the AVE, and the issues, then you need to fix your indicators and your construct before you even go ahead and run the bootstrapping or apply the bootstrapping. Yeah. So these are the things that you check. So one, data set could be the reason. If you don't have enough data set, it could be the reason why the things are not supported. And that means you need to collect more data. Two, it could be that how you form the hypothesis, there are issues. And when I say there are issues, I mean you were supposed to go left, but you are going right. Then the third could be that the indicators and then the construct, there are issues. And you can look at this by looking at your construct reliability and validity table to ascertain that. Yeah. So yeah. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other person who has a question? Okay, on this note, thank you. We'll meet again in September for those of you who want to continue. But within this period, I'll be following up on your articles. It doesn't mean we have ended in terms of developing, because you need to publish. That's the reason why we are doing all these things, not just for exercises. So those of you who told me you want to add more data, you are collecting more, you are allowed to do all that, but make sure you do all these things and run your data and prepare your paper for publication before the September. In other words, by September class, your paper should have been submitted. At least it should be under review. Yeah, so you have from now to September 15th to submit your paper. So if those of you who said, oh, I should give you 1 week or 2 weeks, you want to collect more data and blah, 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 it's acceptable. I don't have any problem with you. Do whatever will be okay for you. Or some of you also said you are now running your data and all that. But make sure you finish it. Make sure the paper is ready and you have written it and it has been submitted or is being submitted before the next class will begin. That's what I want to say. Okay, so on that note, thank you very much for coming. It has been a great time working with you, and I hope you have also picked 1 or 2 things from me, which are going to support you with your thesis and then your future publications. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Prof, for your time. Very well appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a good time. Oh, Alphonsus, you want to say something?
Let's talk.
Yes.
Even I just want to give a vote of thanks of a sort on behalf of my colleagues. We really appreciate it. If we are to pay for this, I'm sure most of us will not be able to pay. But you did this for us free, and you are continuing to do for us. We can only thank you, and then we'll try. The best we can do is to do what you are telling us, at least to also appreciate your time. So we are grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate your vote of thanks. And I want us to continue to work together. As I mentioned, the most important thing is for you guys to get whatever you are looking for as far as your publications are concerned. Like, for example, let me give you this before we go. Like last week, I got 2 students, one going to the US, a school in the US. Yeah, one student going to US, and then one student coming to Australia. 2 students. Yeah, I mean, somebody will say for security reasons, I can't disclose their names. For security reasons. And this I started just like how I've been working with you, and I mean they followed whatever I started, because I remember one of them. Even recently when I came to Ghana and I met the person and I was talking to the person said, "Look, I don't think it is possible. This whole thing, I will get anything out of it in terms of like getting an offer in a university outside Ghana." But I told the person that it's going to work, and thank God it has worked. Actually, there are 3. Let me put it that way, but there is another lady. Yeah, there are 3 students. Yes, so there are benefits, and I want you to continue doing this. And I know that by God's grace, whatever you are looking for, whether you want to use this to get an academic job in Ghana or outside Ghana, or you want to use it to continue your PhD, whatever, the thing will work. Just that keep on working. And more importantly, that's why I always say that everybody should keep on doing whatever we are doing. The thing is that I know that it's something like some of you, this is the first time you are now beginning and all that. The only thing that will make you successful is for you to continue. It's consistency that brings the results. Yeah, so you don't have to give up. The only thing that will prevent you from getting whatever you want to get from this is you not being consistent. Consistency is a key, is a secret. If I have any secrets to share with you, I will use the word consistency. But this Pls-Sem that I'm teaching you and all that, me too, I also didn't know it. It's not like I knew it from like something, I also didn't know it. All these papers I talk about and all that, I also didn't know anything about it. It's about consistency. Be consistent. That's it. And that's the secret. If there's any secret I want to share, or if there's some secret that is somewhere, that's what I've given to you. If there's any key, that's it. Just be consistent. And by God's grace, the whole thing will work. It has worked for me, so why not you? It will work for you. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you for coming. We have to go. God be with you. And stay blessed. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bless you. Bless you. Bless you.
Bye.
We are good.
You're welcome. Bye.